This weekend, demonstrators are taking to the streets and raising their voices, all against police brutality.
Hey, what's up, City of Truth? Pastor AD3 here. As you know, we've been in our Public Enemy series. This week and next week is extremely special because I had the blessed privilege of sitting down and having a conversation with my brother, Craig Kackley, who leads and pastors Church of the Four Corners, who we know well. He's always generous and open and allowing us to utilize his building, and just really been a great friend to my wife and I. But we had a very special conversation concerning race and injustice in America. I spoke the way I speak, nothing but the truth. And so I wanted to bring you guys in on the conversation we had. This is part one this week. Part two will be next week. Listen, I love you guys so much, and I pray that you enjoy this and you're able to glean from this. Even those of you who are watching and don't belong to the city, it's a great conversation. I pray that the Lord uses this to transform your life forever. God bless.
All right, well, hey, welcome, church. Thanks for tuning in. What an incredible privilege that we have today to be with my friend, Pastor AD3, a man that I love, a man that I respect. And I'm going to be honest, a man that frustrates me from time to time because he preaches better than I do. No. So I'm just going to confess that out loud right here in this moment as I work that out.
Okay.
But man, thank you so much for being here.
Man, I'm glad to be here. You guys are family. I told you guys that from the first day I came in. You guys are my family. You're my friends, and I appreciate the space given to be able to discuss this, dialogue about this, get some understanding, show some compassion, and really kind of talk this thing through so that we can see that these things taking place aren't just fantasy island. Like, this is real life stuff that has come from real life places and real life people are dealing with. So I appreciate you for doing this for the people. It's for the people.
Well, I think we're going to have some fun today. We're going to make them laugh. We're going to make them cry. We might offend everyone just a little bit, and that's okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
Well, hey, before we dive into this, I know, man, you came and you preached at our church last year.
Yeah.
And people still talk about it.
Wow.
Every 2 weeks. I would say every week, but that'd be a pastor lie. So I'm trying to keep it real.
Okay.
Every 2 weeks,
at least
someone comes
twice a
up
month
to me and says, when's Pastor AD3 coming back? When's he coming back? So I know that our church, we have a vested interest in you, and you guys are, in fact, in a pretty exciting season as a church. God's stirring something.
He is.
Tell us about that. What's going on?
Yeah, it's exciting, man. In the midst of this COVID-19 pandemic, and now this racial injustice stuff all coming to a head, I think the Lord is still being glorified through our church and our city. Obviously, some of you may not know this, but some of you who are watching do. We're a portable church. We meet inside of a high school in the Kansas City, Missouri school district. And so when this pandemic kind of took place, all that kind of got stripped away from us. And so thank God for technology. We were able to, like many churches around the city, around the world, we're able to move our services online. And so, Craig, we've actually been able to touch people that we wouldn't have been able to touch in this season. And people are still joining our church. People are still going through discipleship in our new members class and all that. And so God is just really doing some incredible things. And so we're in the process of looking for our own home.
Yep.
God bless the child who has his own. We don't have to ask anybody for permission to set up and tear down, and we don't have to wear our people out doing that. And so we're in the process of that. But this season has been exciting. It's been unique. I don't think I've ever led through a pandemic before. Have you?
Not yet.
Yeah,
no. First for me.
Yeah, this is the first. And so it's been a doozy, but it's been special.
Yeah.
And it's just really been showing me that what we've been preaching, man. God is God. He is supreme. He is Alpha, Omega. He's got this.
Yeah.
He's in control. And so, City of Truth is thriving through this, and I'm grateful to God for it.
I love that. You know, we did the portable game for about 4 years.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that we were able to be a portable church.
Right.
I don't miss it.
Yeah.
So
I don't think I'm going to miss it either.
We're going to be praying alongside of you guys. And if some of you happen to own a building in downtown Kansas City, maybe an old Best Buy, any empty Best Buys out there?
Something. Holla at a player when you see me in the street. No, if you want to hit us up. We'd be grateful for it.
It's awesome, man. So once again, I'm so grateful that you're here. It was like 4 days ago.
Right.
I called you up.
Right.
I think it was on Monday. And I just said, hey man, like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
You know, as leaders, how many different crises can we lead through at the same time?
Yeah.
So you already got the coronavirus madness happening, and then now like racial tension has hit a fevered pitch.
Yes.
To the point of it's like, but it's in our own backyard.
Right.
You know, even if you want to ignore it, you can't.
No.
And so I just called you up and I'm like, I don't know what to do. As a white male evangelical leader, I feel like I don't have the ability nor the life experience or the gravitas to kind of speak to these issues. And essentially I just said, dude, I need your help.
Right.
And you were so gracious to me. You just said, okay, what do you need? And I'll be there. And I was like, Friday, 3 o'clock, and you're here. And so thanks for being flexible.
Right.
I know you got a lot of demands on your time. And I think we need to hear what you have to say. So it seems as though, you know, to say that, oh, this racist or this idea of racism is somehow new would be a foolish statement.
Right.
It's been a part of humanity since the beginning of time. Even the name of our church, Church of the Four Corners, it's all about this story in Acts chapter 10 when Peter would never have entered into the home of Cornelius because of racism. Right? And God broke through it. And so it's been around from the very beginning. In the last 50 years, let's even say, it feels as though things have just been building and building and building. And it seems especially now in the last, let's say, month, with Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and then it's hit its culmination with the murder of George Floyd.
Right.
It seems like something has shifted,
Yeah.
where even now many white evangelical pastors and leaders are to the point where there's more boldness, there's more, I'm less afraid to ruffle the feathers, I'm okay to take some of the hits because this just has to be addressed. It seems as if something is changing. And I think my first question would just simply be like, what has changed? Like, how do you assess what's currently going on in our world right now?
Yeah, man, it is going crazy. And like I've said this before, it's going crazy, but it's going crazy in a good way, in my estimation. Now, first, let me add this. I am not a sociologist. I don't have a degree in sociology. I'm black. And so as a black man who's been black my entire life, I feel like I can speak from that experience. But I think, Craig, in times past, when things like this have happened and black people have said, hey, police brutality is a real thing. Police are really killing us quicker than they're killing anybody else. I think, let's say, for instance, in the Trayvon Martin case or the Tamir Rice situation, there was always this instance, well, let's wait to see, let's get more facts. You know, let's see. I mean, we don't know what really took place. Let's give the officer the benefit of the doubt. Let's just wait until we get more facts. With this George Floyd case, there's no waiting to get more facts. You witnessed the entire 9 minutes and 46 seconds where this officer's knee was on the neck of this man who was subdued, handcuffs behind his back, 3 other officers laying on top of him. And this guy had his knee in the neck of this man for 9 minutes and 46 seconds. And what really ripped my heart out is this man was saying, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And as he's dying, Craig, he's calling for his mother. Now, his mother had been dead for 2 years. So this man is calling for his dead mama to come and rescue him from the clutches of this brutality. And so you have people filming it, and the people behind the camera are saying, hey, can you get off of him? He's saying he can't breathe. And you see this look in this man's face as if he does not care. And I think it was that look, being able to see it, is what gripped white events. It's like you can't ignore it. There's no plausible deniability. There's no... You can't explain this away. You can't give an excuse. It's there, it's in front of you, and you have to deal with it, and you have to do something about it. So I think this is a kairos moment. There's a difference between, in Greek, chronos, which is chronological time, which is the ticking of the clock. Then there's kairos. Those are moments when all things come to a head, and you have to say something. And I think that's where we are. People are saying something, and regardless of if you're an expert, and regardless of if you read a bunch of books on Black history and Black thought, you have to say something. Why? Because you're a human being, and other human beings who are created in the image of God are being treated unfairly and being brutalized by an authoritarian system. And so you have to say something. If you believe in the gospel of Jesus Christ, you have to speak regardless of the color of your skin. And so I think that's where we are. You gotta speak. You gotta say something. Silence speaks loudly. Wow. In this time. Yeah. Because everyone's speaking, your silence screams louder. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And so we're at a point as a black brother, black pastor of a black church, man, I'm looking for my white brothers and sisters who will call me to preach, who will call me for ideas, who will call me for creativity, who will have Black people sitting in their churches, who will have Black people singing on their worship teams. I'm looking for those pastors to open their mouths and begin to speak for justice and righteousness and truth. And so I think that's where we are, Craig. I honestly think that's where we are.
You said something to me on Monday that there's no such thing as racist or not racist.
Absolutely.
Unpack that thought for me.
What I said was, there's no such thing as the comfort of I'm not racist. So many times people are saying, I'm not racist. I have Black friends. I'm not racist. I listen to Jay-Z. I'm not racist. I like Patrick Mahomes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not racist. And so the I'm not racist is no longer a thing anymore. Either you're racist or anti-racist. It's not racist and non-racist. That's a passive place. It's racist or anti-racist. What are you doing to actively fight against the racism in your own backyard? And so that's what I said to you. Gone are the days of the excuses of I'm not racist and I just sit on my tushy and do nothing. No, we need you to be anti-racist. What are you doing against racism? Yeah. What are you doing to identify the privileges in your own life? What are you doing to stand with people who are hurting, Craig? Who are hurting? That's the thing. It's like, why do you need a scientific explanation for my pain? Why is it that Black people always have to give you an explanation that makes sense to you in order for you to empathize with my pain? Why does my pain have to make sense? Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Why does my pain have to make sense before you acknowledge how I feel? Yeah. You see what I mean? And so that's what it's like being Black in America. It's having to walk around with an arsenal of explanations. I have to explain why I'm here. I have to explain why I'm in this neighborhood. I have to explain why I'm driving this car. I have to explain why I'm married here. I have to explain why I bought this house here. I have to explain why I have to explain why I'm hurting. I have to explain you see what I'm saying? Like when we need people to stand who don't require an explanation, who just see my pain and say, the scripture commands me to weep with those who weep.
Yeah. It's only until we truly understand and see our brothers and sisters in the Black community as equals that their pain will become our pain.
Absolutely.
You know, and this has been the epiphany for me in this whole George Floyd murder is, I think, for many of us in the white community, we've used the justification that I'm not a racist because my knee isn't on his neck. And it's only until we begin to understand that in saying nothing, we are just as guilty because we are the police officer standing and watching an innocent man die.
Wow.
And yet now, and what a powerful picture that we are seeing our justice system catch up, all four are being charged.
Yeah.
Right? There are sins of commission. That's the knee on the neck.
Yeah.
But there are sins of omission.
Right.
Seeing the injustice, seeing the segregation, the heart, the inequity, and standing by and doing nothing. And the Bible calls both of them the same thing.
Absolutely.
Sin.
Absolutely. And not just standing by and doing nothing, but benefiting from racist structures.
Yeah.
See, that's a whole nother level.
Yeah.
So not just standing by and doing nothing, but reaping the benefits for decades, centuries of racist structures. I was reading the other day and I ran across this quote, that there can be racism without there being any racists. That's the foundation of America.
Wow.
Racism and no racism. Why? Because racism can live in institutions.
Wow.
Racism lives in policies. Racism lives in legislations. Racism lives in structures. So it's not just my white brothers and sisters. It's not just my knee's not on his neck. I love black. I'm also benefiting from racist institutions, racist structures, racist foundations. And so those are the things that I think aren't so quickly denounced.
So let's go there. I think there have been some new words and terms introduced into our vernacular, and they're making, I'll say my people, they're making the white community real uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
And so
Good.
we're seeing phrases like white fragility.
Oh, yeah. That's a hot button one.
White privilege.
Yeah.
And then maybe the most incendiary, Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
So why is it that when we hear these phrases, and I can speak a little bit to this as well, but why do you feel like these phrases are so offensive and they incite such a reaction in our world right now?
White people don't like to be called white people. Here's why. The word white is triggering, and here's why I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say this. White is triggering because my beautiful white people who I love have never had to live in America as a race. There's no concept of a race for a white person. It's just, no, you're a race, you have a race. I don't have any races because you haven't had to. And so first of all, let's deal with that. Then we can go with the white privilege. Let's lean over to white privilege. Why is that so offensive? What is white privilege, number one? White privilege is this box of advantages that you may not be even consciously aware of that you have because you're born white in America. Now, that does not mean you have not worked hard for what you have. That does not mean you didn't pull yourself up from your own bootstraps. That does not mean that you haven't built your company with your own blood, sweat, and tears. What that does mean is your way was not blocked or your way was not prohibited by certain disadvantages because of the color of your skin. And so white privilege is almost like this toolkit of resources. For instance, white privilege. I can take my daughter to the store and we go to the toy section. I can remember this like it was yesterday. She's 4 years old. She wants a doll. I take her to Target. God bless Target. I love Target. And so I take her to Target. We go to the toy aisle, Craig, and she wants a doll. And so she's in the doll aisle, and every doll she sees has white skin, blonde hair, white skin, brunette hair. And so I have to search the aisle to find a doll that looks like her. That's privilege. A beautiful little white girl could walk in. She does not have, the parents don't have to worry about it. The mom don't have to worry if they're going to have the shampoo she needs to do her hair. You know what I'm saying? The mom doesn't have to worry about if they're going to have the hair dye she needs for her hair. But if my wife went to Target or store, she's got to worry about whether they'll have something that represents her. So it's all about representation, even in school, Craig. And I don't mean to be long, but even in school, I learned about Franklin. I learned about Jefferson. I learned about all these. That was American history. That was packaged as American history. And maybe 2 weeks in February, we learned about George Washington Carver and the peanut. And we learned about Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, as if that's the only speech Martin Luther King has ever recited. And so I say all that to say, white privilege is you not ever having to worry or wonder, not even conjuring up the thought that there will be no representation of you anywhere. You're everywhere. You are everywhere. And so that's what white privilege. But white fragility is when I try to have a conversation with you about privilege and you automatically get defensive and offended. That's white fragility, because you don't like to be, for the most part, singled out. You don't like to be grouped, because you're the dominant, you're the power structure. And so by me even implying, here's the thing, me even implying there's some racism somewhere in your heart is so offensive, because you think being nice is being anti-racist. Being nice is not being anti-racist. Being nice is not being anti-racist. And so we've got to also dismantle the idea of what racism is, Craig. Racism has historically been the intentionality and the anger, or someone intentionally, or someone saying something mean or doing something mean and being intentionally racist. That's the old definition of racism. That's the old definition. The current definition and the most accurate definition of racism does not necessarily have to be an intention. It doesn't even have to be conscious. It's just you operating from a bias that you have. For instance, and this has happened to me, as a black brother in America, happened today. My family and I were taking a walk on the sidewalk, me and my boys. We're walking on the sidewalk because we want to get some exercise. And I live in a predominantly white neighborhood. My children go to a school district in the suburbs. And so my boys and I were walking. I mean, I got on my shorts, my black tee. I got my all red Jordan 11s on. You know what I'm saying? I'm out here.
You're showing up.
I'm looking good. My son, you know what I'm saying? But I'm walking though. You know me, I can't do nothing without looking good. You know what I'm saying? But
it's
anyway,
a curse.
It is. You know, I pray and ask God to help me with it. But anyway, so I'm walking, and there's a white lady who's walking up here. This lady looks, and guess what she did? Crossed the street and went the other way, never looked up, never waved, never said hi. That's what it's like to be black in America. It's constantly having to dilute yourself. It's constantly having to be conscious of how threatening you may be perceived. It's constantly having to tone your voice down because you'll be perceived as aggressive and get the police called on you. It's constantly, W.E.B. Du Bois says, it's having a double consciousness. He says black people have a double consciousness, Craig. He says, on one hand, I'm an American, but on the other hand, I'm black. He says, I have to think like two people. Wow. He says, I have to think like imagine the pressure. Here's the thing. I'll give you another example, and I don't mean to take over, but I feel it in my soul.
You go.
Another example. When I stand up in a crowd, and let's say it's a predominantly white crowd, I have to be conscious, even unconsciously, of the things that I say, because subconsciously I don't want to offend a white person in the room. That's a black experience. A white person does not have to think about who's in the room. They don't have to, it's not even in your DNA. And so what W.E.B. Du Bois was talking about is this consciousness of always having to be two people in America. I'm American, but I'm also black, and I have to live by two sets of rules. Wow. And I don't know if I answered your question. I just went on a rant there, but
you did 10 times over.
Okay.
And that was amazing.
Okay.
I think what you've showed us is the importance of us as a white community educating ourselves. And I think you're right. These words are so triggering because there's certain assumptions being made. And I think the privilege piece, and even for me, this has been, very much still in process. But when someone tells you you're privileged, there is kind of this visceral knee-jerk reaction, be like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
And then it causes you, if you're willing, to ask the harder question, to begin to dig. And so I think of someone like my dad. Yeah. There's no one I know in my life who is a harder worker than my dad.
Right.
20 years on the assembly line. This week I was talking to my dad, and so I am a beneficiary of privilege. Yeah. My parents paid for my college education.
Right.
And I asked my dad this week, I said, Dad, how much did you have to work? He doesn't work a white collar job. He's a blue collar worker. How much did you have to work to pay for my college? And he said 7 days a week for 12 hours a day. I said, what? Because we like to complain in ministry, like, we're always working too hard. I said, are you serious? How long did you do that? Years. And so for someone, to tell someone like that, well, you've been privileged, it's only until we are able to do the education and understand. Like, my wife's another great example. My life's been easy. I have realized that a lot lately. My wife's life has not been easy. Mom died of MS, drove herself illegally to work at 14 years old just so she could help pay bills and care. And it doesn't mean your life has just been handed to you or is a cakewalk. It just means that your skin was not a factor in that experience.
Absolutely.
And I think for us, if we can get to that place where we understand, I wrote down a couple of statistics. For us, to understand white privilege. So if 90% of the wealth in the world is owned by whites, 10% people of color. That black graduates, 2 times more likely, we're not talking about dropouts, graduates, 2 times more likely to be unemployed. If I get caught with cocaine,
oh yeah,
there's a 44% chance that I'm going to go to prison. If you get caught with cocaine, 78%.
Absolutely. Those are facts, Craig.
These are unequivocal, empirical data.
Absolutely.
13% of the population is African American. That holds 3% of the wealth. 13% of the population of African Americans will make up 40% of our prison systems. And so when we step back, I think we begin to understand that, okay, it's okay. And I think that's the thing I want to tell our church. It's okay to be privileged. Being privileged is a gift. T.D. Jakes, this week, he talked about pastor privilege. He said, when I walk into my church, they're going to treat me different than they treat a stranger off the street.
Right.
So privilege in and of itself is not bad. The question is, what will we do with our privilege?
What will we do with it?
Will we simply ignore that we've been privileged? Will we lie to ourselves that no, we're not privileged? Or will we understand, wow, okay, I have been given this gift, but gifts require something, stewardship.
Absolutely.
So how do I leverage that privilege for the benefit of my brother and sister?
And you're never given it. God never gives gifts for people to hold on to.
Yeah.
They're always given for the benefit of others.
Yeah.
They're always given for the edification of others. They're always given for those around us who could benefit from what he's given us.
That's it.
That's the heart of Jesus.